Hello, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio at 11 p.m. Nourishing our souls with Hail Christ. It is a joy to be here, a joy because we are united for good purposes. In the ancient past, or I don't know, the past of the past, we used to get together to do things that weren't very useful, right? And we're talking about previous lives. But in this life, we are practicing good habits. We're learning to think good things, to say good things, to cheer each other up, and also to rejoice in contemplating the greatness of God and feeling the blessings of the Almighty. So we're welcoming you today as we begin another chapter of the book Hail Christ. The book Hail Christ is another book in Emmanuel series through Chico Xavier. This is the book Hail Christ by Chico Xavier. The spirit author is Emmanuel. In this book, we're going to find an invitation to collaborate. As Emmanuel says in the preface of the book, and I quote, he says, "The Lord's call has gone out far and wide. While disorder continues to spread around the world, and while collusive ignorance and selfishness continues to erect barriers of misunderstanding and discord, the boundaries of the beyond are being crossed, so that the unforgettable voices of the living from the spirit world may make themselves heard, to console and comfort and proclaim sovereign immortality and the need for the divine sculptor in our hearts, so that we may reach our effulgent destination, life eternal. May the example of these post-apostolic children of the gospel inspiring us today the simplicity and the toil, the trust and the love with which they renounce themselves in service to the divine masters. May we as they transform thorns into flowers, stones into bread, in the endeavors that the Most High has placed in our hands." Yes, dear friends, this is the new chapter of the book we're going to read tonight. We're going to study. We don't read the whole chapter. We just mention a few passages, but we talk about it and we learn from it. Where are we in our story? Remember, Quintus Varus reincarnated in a mission to rescue his son. He reincarnates, gets married to Cynthia, has baby Tassianus at hand. But one day, he finds out that his wife is having an affair with his boss, who is her cousin. She's interested in easy life, money, slaves, fame, social influence. She pressures him. Quintus Varus is a Roman patrician, but he became Christian, and that's a problem. She doesn't understand, and she says, "My child will never be Christian." So she's the first one to deter the plans of on high. How many parents, without noticing, are like Cynthia? They are worried about the conventions of the daily life, and they forget that there is the divine law. That above the human conventions, there is the divine law. How about us? Are we far from it? Are we leading our children to God, which is the mission of parents, by the way? Talking about parenting, before we go on, we would like to celebrate because today is a happy day. It's Chico Xavier's anniversary, 110 years, and we owe to him the book and much more that he has psychographed and makes such a difference in our lives. So thank you, Chico Xavier. And also, we are celebrating 12 years of the publishing of the Spiritist magazine. And if you want to read it, we just released a new issue that is focused not only, but in so many ways to support parents. It's the Spiritist magazine, and you can see here in its recent cover, and you can read it in your app, free of charge. Look how beautiful it is. You can flip the pages, you can zoom in, read it. It's beautiful, look. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Yes, we're happy because at each issue of the magazine, only God knows the samba we have to samba to make this happen, and it's been 12 years. So we're happy to share with you that for all parents, this latest issue is very, very inspirational. Several articles, and we would say for those who are thinking about the coronavirus, we have a few articles there too who can be very beneficial to clarifying things. Okay? All right, friends. So welcome, dear friends, to this moment. I can see wonderful friends who are here. I'm going to say hi to all of you at the end of the program. If you stay here, you and I will have a little chat right here. So Rafael Medeiros is saying he just finished the book, and I agree with you. And Chico Xavier's books are certainly masterpieces, and this is one of them. So, where were we? He found out that Cynthia was having an affair. What did he do? Quintus Varus didn't fight. He was Christian. He's a peacemaker. He's going to respect people's ways of being. He finds a new job out of dignity. He does not depend on any longer on the boss, though he doesn't say anything. Very peaceful. And he doesn't slander the wife. He doesn't make justice with him, and respects his wife. He finds a new job, and he thinks that he's on a new mission, a professional mission. And then he'll get to know when he's sailing that actually he was sent there to be murdered by the very boss, the love affair of his wife. He is spared by Subrius. Subrius spares his life and instead kills Appius Corvinus, who used to be a reference for many in the Christian church in Lyon, in the Gauls, an area that today encompasses France. He then has no choice but to begin anew. He has to change his name for the world. He's no longer Quintus Varus. He's now the older brother of Corvinus, not Appius Corvinus, but brother Corvinus. He learns as young as he is to renounce everything. He learns to live in simplicity amongst people who are sick, who are poor, and learns new skills. He embraces the young children, takes care of them. For 20 years, he doesn't stop helping children and helping the sick. He becomes a reference in the Church of Lyon, healing people, till one day his son comes to live in the city of Lyon and got sick because they were also facing an epidemic, the plague at the time. Tassianus got sick, And somebody asked the very gardener of their house, Brother Corvinus Quintus Varus, to take care of him. He takes care of Tassianus. He doesn't reveal himself, and begins to be friends with Tassianus. It's joy for him. One day he has an idea, brings the children to sing and pray with Tassianus. But to his shock, Tassianus, when he hears Silvanus, the little Silvanus, praying in the name of Jesus, he goes mad. He releases the dog on the children, and the dog bites fatally onto Silvanus. Silvanus dies. From there on, complications for Brother Corvinus and the community of Christians. From there on, successive events, until one day we're going to see our dear Brother Corvinus discarnating. That's where we stopped. When he gets to the spiritual realm, that's the end of part 1, chapter 7. He is enveloped by all these spirits who discarnated before him, all these children, including Silvanus, and his former spiritual mentor, Claudius, who says, "Today we celebrate the return of Varus, our selfless brother in ideals and struggles, a champion of our cause. He honored every opportunity he received." You see, people cry when we discarnate here, but when we discarnate and really do what we gotta do, we're embraced with so much love. But we're loved anyhow, even if we discarnate as criminals. You know that in the Spiritist magazine we have an issue that has Abraham Lincoln on the cover, and it tells inside of a mediumistic account of what happened to Abraham Lincoln when he discarnated, and soon after how he, in the spiritual realm, was allowed days later to be one of the people receiving his very murderer, John Booth, in the afterlife, and committing to taking care of him until his change of heart. I'm sharing this with you because we need to learn to see death from a different angle. It's not easy, but if we contemplate daily, there will be a day on earth in which we're going to be at greater ease in this natural transition of life. After all, God created the cycle of life and death. It wasn't you, it wasn't me, it was God. If God allows life to be in such a way, it's because there is a good purpose. We need to seek the good even at times in which we think are bad. But you didn't invent death. And if God allows us to go through this transformation, it must be for a good purpose. Because God doesn't trick us, does he? No. All right? All right. So, he says, a valiant soldier of Christ, when injured, he did not return injury. When humiliated, he never returned humiliation. In his hours of darkness, he lit the light of his own soul. And when the world sought to defeat him, he uplifted himself through faith and love and gave the Master the highest proof of trust. He understood the gospel teaching of personal sacrifice for the happiness of others, and after offering his own life in his earthly body, he has rediscovered himself in the glory of immortality. When he was with us in centuries past, he fought on behalf of deceitful human power, suffering bitter disappointments. He goes on and says, a champion of service and fraternity. He fought against hatred, exemplifying love, He extolled the unfading gifts of the Spirit by humbly devoting himself to spreading the good news. Now that his soul, worthy of our fullest recognition, has become attuned to the highest spheres of divine love through notable triumphs, let us greet our brave companion who is in transit to the resplendent summits of life. If he wants to, he may now collaborate with the Master from the summit of learning and virtue in a daring commitment to sanctify the world. As he heads into the future, may the Lord bless him on the sublime path that is his because of his glorious victories. Claudius smiled as he finished his greeting, while a moving melody of hosannas vibrated under a sky swarming with twinkling stars. What about Vars? How did he feel? Weeping with joy, the newly discarnate approached the sublime messenger and said humbly, "My selfless friend, your words have spoken deeply to my soul. I received them as a charitable incentive to my poor goodwill, since I do not deserve them all. I know that your generosity will reveal new horizons to me, and that your kindness can lead me to the heights. However, if possible, let me stay right here on earth. I see myself as incapable of moving forward for now, because my task here is not yet complete. Someone—" Claudius put his hand on his shoulder and interrupted him. "I know you mean Tassianus. Proceed as you wish. The decision is yours. You were granted permission to help him for a whole century, and you will have plenty of time left over." He looked at him with kind, penetrating eyes that showed forth the beauty of his soul and asked, "How would you like to proceed?" "I would like to be reborn in the flesh and serve alongside the Son that heaven entrusted to me. On behalf of my superiors, I can authorize it, but I must tell you that Tassianus had wasted the best opportunities of his physical youth. Valuable resources were offered to him so that he could rise to the glory of the good, but to no avail." All right. Here he is allowed to go back to his son. How beautiful is this? Can you imagine yourself or myself discarnating one day and being invited to work in a planetary mission side by side with Jesus like that? But instead, we want to go back to the trials of life to keep helping loved ones. This is love. Maybe we can feel it. Maybe this is just hard to grasp. I don't know. Observe in yourself how you feel at this hour. Because if for us it's easy to understand and feel it, great. If it's far and seems outrageous, we need to work a little harder to understand that life is about love and not external achievements. It's about love and not external achievements. If I accomplish many things but don't have time for my family, don't dedicate myself to people who need me, all those achievements are in vain. Right now on earth, thanks to the coronavirus, we're forced to revisit our priorities. And if there is one thing that is our priority, is family. But not priority excluding the universal family. Priority in the sense of we need to reach out to one another at home and also outside of our homes. We cannot focus on achievements, because then we achieve and achieve and achieve things that the world proclaims to be great, but then there is a void within us. What is important for us is to reach out. Only God knows the sacrifices you may make, like Quintus Varus to the world. Only some got to know of his sacrifices. But the heavens knew it precisely, every single bit that he did. His consciousness did too. All right? All right? What a bless. What a bless. Ready for the new chapter? You'll be delighted in so many ways. This is now year 250. A few years passed by. Few. And one day, as we got to know that the Roman Empire was still year 250 of our era, okay? And in those years, still the emperors who were succeeding one another were against Christianity and against the Christians, and doing everything they could to murder them, to kill them. It's so sad, because the Roman Empire was able to produce so much in terms of the progress, materially speaking, but spiritually, very a karmic load. Ever since Varus' death, Vittorius retired with his son to the world capital, Rome. And remember, since Quintus Varus' death, when Tassianus, his son, got to know of the whole plot created by his stepfather, Vittorius left and never talked to Tassianus again. This is about character. It shows to us that he, in spite of it all, he didn't have good character. We know that, but it just reinforces to us. He never spoke a word after that, and Tassianus didn't feel like either. So they had a relationship of mutual silence and cold aversion. There are many people who feel this way and stay this way, and only life will change it. Tassianus, on his end, tried to drown the sorrows and concerns that he had inwardly. He devoted himself to his wife, who had been always the target of his greatest affection, and he tried to concentrate all his loving bounty on her. But Helena, or Helen, was so vain, so superficial, she couldn't understand his dedication. She wanted to have numerous social activities. She liked traveling a lot, visiting friends, and she liked meeting with her father and brother in Rome. Remember, we're talking about hours traveling from Lyon to Rome. It's almost 1,000 kilometers. Back then, it would take a while, and she would frequently go back and forth and have her outings. She had a governess who would help her always. Her husband, Tassianus, was more like introspective, given to meditation and studies, being at home. He tried to change her mind, but she couldn't. It's almost like he's repeating, in a way, the life that his father had, though he wasn't Christian. So, at some point, this is the irony of life. Tassiana's stepfather, Vittorius, he's very materialistic. He's very focused, very greedy. He doesn't want to share a bit of anything. Now that his relationship with Tassianus is no longer the same, he's concerned about his resources and lands in Lyon. So, to make sure everything is in place, he hires a man named Theodulus, and who is not a very good person at all, and says, I want you to be in charge of it all. And Theodulus does his best, but his best means he tries to conquer Helen's heart. And he does. And he does. He does. In spite of his youthfulness, he was undergoing to a similar fate as his father, but not in terms of Christianity. So think about this. Many people think that we often repeat our parents' patterns, right? It seems almost like a curse sometimes for some people. They say, Vanessa, I'm so concerned. It happens. If you go to the book Mechanisms of Mediumship by André Luiz, he explains to us, and Emmanuel in the book Thought and Life repeats it, that we receive the mental imprints, the mental reflexes of our parents. Only those who are spiritually superior can raise above it. So we really need to make a lot of effort. But we need to understand that sometimes it's not a mere repetition. It's about pertaining a theme that the whole family needs to work upon. When people talk about heredity, right, genetics, they think, oh, in my family, people are depressive, so certainly I will be depressive, my children will be depressive. No, not necessarily. But if anything hits us, it's because we have history together. We have a past together. And thus, the reason why we attract similar things. Does it make sense now? Because we can't feel as if we are doomed to bad things. Right? Okay? Does it explain now? I hope it does, because sometimes people feel like it's a curse. We're going to be just like our parents, the same destiny. No. We will attract similar things for several reasons. First, because what we experience here imprints in us certain conditionings that will make us attract similar situations. And also because of previous lives' experiences. We are often from a similar group that have done things together or similarly, and now we gravitate to that. But we can change it once we step into consciousness. When we bring that awareness to our conscience, we can start working with it. How? By reprogramming our minds through affirmations, visualizations, and it's not enough. Visualizations and affirmations are not enough. We need to do the good. Some people say, I'm doing the affirmations and the visualization, but nothing changes. Well, because as Emmanuel says, you need to seek the good, feel it, visualize it, but also mold the good. We need to work. It takes effort and repetition. We need to work on it, work on it, work on it. And work on it requires sacrifice. When you talk about sacrifice, in all the Spiritist books, this word keeps ringing, sacrifice, sacrifice, especially in the book of Hail Christ. But what is sacrifice all about? Today, a Spiritist scholar was giving an explanation, and I'm borrowing this from her because it is exactly the definition of what we need to know. Sacrifice of our personal interest. When we put the general interest above our own. It's as if right now people call you and say, I need your help. And you say, but I can't because the coronavirus. You say, no, I will help you. This is what sacrifice is all about. The people who are caring for others in spite of it all. It's a mother who doesn't eat before the child eats. It's a father who finishes his duties, though tired, to make sure that he brings the bread to the table, or the mother as well. So this is what we're talking about, and much more, of course. Chico Xavier is the role model for us in that regard. So Helen was spending a lot of money in extravagant social interests. And he was having a lot of problem in that regard. But one day God is so good that amongst others they sent Blandina. Blandina is the little girl who is the daughter of Tassianus and Helen, and she has a special relationship with her father. I want to open a parenthesis here because in a previous program we've done study sessions on books that were psychographed by Chico Xavier and authored by the spirit Mei Mei. Mei Mei, that spirit, is here, Blandina, okay? Just so you know how beautiful this is, to know that Blandina is Mei Mei. Isn't this beautiful? And you see her sweetness here. She loves Tassianus. He loved him. Blandina looked like a permanent flower grasped in her father's right hand. It's the reincarnatory plan. God wants to rescue us. I know Tassianus is stubborn. You know it. But God is sending help to rescue him. And you think God doesn't have a good plan for you? Look around. Yes, we will go through trials, difficulties, but God will send people in two realms to rescue us, to help us, to give us enthusiasm, to give us a new boost. Can we observe them and find out who they are already? And more will come, because it doesn't stop here. Until the last breath of this life, we're going to meet people who are dear to our hearts, who are with us in our evolution. So that's one exercise to do in the next 24 hours. Because this chapter is also about this. It's about recognizing when we encounter friends of the past, and life in its mercy allowing us to meet with them in the role of parents or children, brothers, sisters, friends, spiritist friends, right? And cheering each other up so we can go on, never give up. Never give up. We're not alone. Right? Right? Yes, Angie. Blandina and May May. Yes, you're right. Blandina and May May. And you can see in André Louis' books when Blandina comes back. I think it's in the Workers of the Life Eternal. I will revisit the reference when we know more about our heaven and earth, when we talk about her taking care of children in the spiritual realm. But here we see father and daughter, as little as she is, doing things together, praying together. How beautiful this is. It's so beautiful and adorable. And unfortunately, Helen is found out to be having an affair with Theodulus. Just like his father, Tassianus, just like Quintus Varus, he gets to know, he overhears a romantic conversation between Theodulus and his wife Helen. At that moment, his heart is broken. His heart beat wildly. He had always been at ease concerning his wife's behavior in spite of her explosive temperament. He felt like strangling Theodulus with his cold, ruthless hands, but Blandina's whimpering aroused his father's sentiments. The scandal would not be worth it. Instead of recasting their destiny, which was now in complete turmoil, it would fall like a fiery arrow on the family that heaven had entrusted to him. To punish his wife would be to condemn his daughters. Instinctively he remembered his father. What superhuman forces had managed to sustain his father, Quintus Varus? How had his father been able to bear the unhappiness in his home without betraying his moral superiority? For him, forgiveness was cowardice, humility, an expression of servility. Then he remembered his own mother and realized that he never saw her very happy. So then he thought, maybe Helen is sorrowful herself. He overheard the words of the loving couple. However, just like Quintus Varus had done, Tassianus withdrew and went to his daughter's bedroom. Blandina hugged him, comforted, feeling every danger vanish in her father's presence, and after giving him a kiss, she drifted off to sleep. Tassianus held her close and then fell left silently, deeply troubled. At some point he sleeps. On the next day, Helen and her crew are traveling to Rome. Tassianus is not going. Blandina is desperate. He says, Papa, she says, Papa, Papa, please don't. I want to be with you. Please don't. But she goes. But at some point, she has high fever. She's ill. They quickly send messengers to ask Tassianus to bring her back home. He does it. She's happy. She's recovered. Now it's Tassianus and Blandina together. And Emmanuel says to us, they love each other. They love each other so much. They loved each other so deeply with the sweet and perfect love of those who seek to give without receiving anything in return. that they truly were enough for each other. See, father and daughter, but this is not this romantic love. There's nothing sexual here, huh? Please let us cleanse our minds of it. We're talking about true love. So they decided to take walks to renew himself with his daughter. So they take a boat and they are, sailing a little bit. And then at some point, dusk slowly comes down. And they are absorbed in the profound silence. They hear some birds, and then suddenly a female voice singing on the riverbank. I wish we could do this in English because I don't know the melody, but the lyrics are, I'm not going to read it all, but a little bit about it. Oh, stars, nest of life, set in the depths of space. New homes, new worlds, covered by a thin veil, winged roses of Ceres, born in the sun of Elysium. You are the home of the gods, who have set you in the sky. You tell us that everything is beautiful. You tell us that everything is holy, even when there is weeping in the dream that leads us. You declare to the strange land overcome with sadness that beauty reigns in everything, dressed in love and light. When the night is colder because of the sorrow that seeks us, you break the dark chain that binds the heart, lighting the dawn of a new day where happiness radiates eternal resurrection. And she goes on, singing. Who is she? Blandina turns to her father and says, who do you suppose is singing like that? Tassianus was also impressed, and they stop nearby at the shore. They secure the boat to the bank. They get out, and a young woman comes and approaches them and says, beautiful child, may the gods protect you. And Tassianus, impacted by her, says with a good sense of humor, and may they protect our beautiful stranger. They talk to one another, and they ask, who wrote the lovely poem? And she says, my father. Who is her father? Who is she? She is Livia, not the Livia from 2,000 years ago, but she's the adoptive daughter of Basilius. Who is he? Emmanuel reincarnated. Basilius is Emmanuel reincarnated. That we know. Wow. We're on this very chapter on Chico's Xavier's birthday. 110 years of Chico Xavier's birthday. It's not by chance that we're getting to know a little more about Emmanuel, who mentored Chico Xavier, another reincarnation of his. After being the slave, in 50 years later, in Hail Christ, he's Basilius. Who is Basilius? You want to know more about his life? Yes, we do. Now Tassianus and Blandina have some connection that they can feel. They feel they know each other. Basilius, Livia, Tassianus, Blandina. His name was Basilius. He was born in Rome. This life he was born in Rome. He was the son of Greek slaves. You see, again. And although he was in debt to his former master Jubilus Carpus, who had freed him, he lived as a freed man, making his own living. Carpus, who was his owner, was almost the same age. They grew up together, and they ended up finding wives about the same time. So his master's wife fell ill because of the plague shortly after giving birth to their son. And Junia Gloria, his own wife, a slave and a friend, had devoted herself to Cecilia with such zeal that she managed to save her life, but at the cost of her own. So Basilius' wife discarnated. And left the daughter Livia, who only survived for a very short time. He was downcast, sad, but one day he is at a certain location, and there is a baby girl who is abandoned, and he brings her to his life and give her the same name, Livia. This is the Livia we're getting to know. Okay? This is the life of Emmanuel. So when Emmanuel is writing this to us, he knows how life is hard. He's not telling us to be compliant with God's laws out of idealism. He's saying, I've been there, done that, and if you want to be better and spare headaches, please focus. Focus on the good. Huh? Focus on the good. So Basilio started talking to Tassianus, talking about his job, restoring and tuning musical instruments. And he realized that his income on the island would not be sufficient, so he moved to Massilia, where he found enough money to educate Livia. Numerous setbacks compelled him to move again, and he chose Lyon for his new field of activities. In Lyon, he found plenty of harps, lutes, zithers that needed fixing, and so pleased with the renewed prospects for financial improvement, he had been in the city for 6 months, reorganizing his life. Basilius spoke with confidence and gentleness, but one could detect some pain in his voice he was unable to express, though. Invisible wounds. The new friends cheered each other up to the point that they had an impression on one another. They started singing and playing as Livia was playing the instrument. Singing, Blandina followed through and turned to her father. What about if Livia is my teacher now? So a new friendship begins. In spite of Tassianus' sorrows, he finds a renewing breeze in his life. And so is our lives on earth, friends. Today we need to recognize the beauty of life. Yes, trials, expiations, atonements are part of it all, but this does not simplify our lives, summarize our lives. There are so many beautiful things. We have refreshing breezes here and there when God sends friends, family members to our lives, to each other's lives. So in the next 24 hours, let us recognize the people in our lives who are these refreshing breezes that bring to us this sense of renewal, of joy, of lightness, and let us thank God for their presence in our lives and hope that we can be also somewhat this refreshing breeze in somebody else's life, not out of ego, but out of duty, the duty of the heart. As Emmanuel says in other books, it's this loving duty towards one another. Leon Denis also talks about that, the duty between souls who love one another. Let us do this exercise and rejoice, because today we need to celebrate that we are never alone. Okay? Sunshine is asking, isn't leaving Helen's daughter she abandoned? You want to wait a little bit to check it out? Yes? May we? I don't know. Let us check it out in the near future and see what life is going to present to us. Okay? All right. Yes, Angie Stewart. Yes, this book is phenomenal. And it is a true account inviting us to open our hearts, to be grateful. In the next 24 hours, I will repeat, let us recognize the people who are the representation of God's mercy in our lives and be grateful to God for them. Be grateful to them. Emmanuel and Chico Xavier are inviting us to this exercise as they open this chapter of that life for us. For now, I want to invite you for a prayer. I'm going to pray for the planet. Yay! Let us feel like we're holding our planet Earth in our lives, shall we? Holding it dearly. And sending a lot of love for the planet to all of its inhabitants. Let us raise our thoughts in loving vibrations of gratitude to our planet Earth, to Mother Earth, to nature, to one another. Dear God, we thank you for allowing us to be together. We thank you for the power of your love. We let go of all the old patterns that no longer serve us. We're open to change. We love and approve of ourselves as your children, and we want to send to the world loving kindness. We want to send encouragement and hope. I know that what we're sending are just crumbs of loving wishes, but with your love, we know you can multiply to the infinite. Hoping that people awaken to the main message of this trying time on earth. You. Why people forget about you? Why some despise you or ignore you? Why? Mercy on us, dear God, for certainly we're tired of bumping our heads in old repetitions that just lead us to illnesses, sorrows, and guilt. We want to hear the hymns of joy of those who fulfill your will on earth as it is in heaven. May your loving hands protect everyone on earth, every one of us. And may we already envision a new time of great discoveries, of loving cooperations, when we prioritize our togetherness over competition. We no longer want to compete. We want to collaborate. We want to sacrifice our personal interests and make the general good our priority. Thank you for the loving guardian angels in our lives, and for all the people who are these refreshing breezes of love, feeling your protection, your unstoppable loving providence. We thank you always, and so be it. Joy to the world. The Lord is come. May God bless our planet Earth. May God bless everyone, right? And let's stay here together, dear friends, because this is Hail Christ. Let's say Hail Christ. Yes, Christ in us. Christ who awaits our cooperation. We are going to meet again tomorrow, God willing, in another chapter of Hail Christ. For now, a big hug, right? And gratitude to all of you. I will say hi, why not? All right, Juliana Bonatis, big hug to you. Carol Correia, super hug. Rafael Medeiros, thank you so much. Susan Kaufman, thank you. Sunshine, Leia Severo, super hug. Leia, Elza Leal, a big hug to you. Renata Casadea, big hug to you and Max. Jailton, a big hug to you. Angie, thank you for your beautiful works as well, Angie. Margot Malik, a big hug to you. Nora Brazil, we want to have you sing here someday, Nora, and playing. Thank you, Daisy Gallen, for your beautiful friendship. Thank you, Weber Costa. Thank you, Mark Carlos. Thank you, Sol Souza. Thank you, Hercules Fernandes for being here. Patty Soares. Aline da Silva, big hug to you, Aline. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, friends. If you're watching this on demand, a big hug to you too. And until next time here at Kardec Radio, always nourishing our souls. Thank you. Until then.